Alright guys, so just wanted to show you what I've done to mod out the Pak Fa T50. See, the fans I'm using are 2 watt 25 1400 Hz with Wemotech. I think they're MIDI Pros 70mm. I'm using a Futaba S-Bus system, so I've got the flaps and aileron on channel 1, 2, and then the elevator on channel 3. As you can see with the flap and the aileron, I used heavier gauge linkages, clevises and so forth, both on the aileron and on the flaps. And then on the landing gear, I've got the Mad Thruster magnetic brakes. Up in here you can see I've got two Futaba receivers. I forget the exact model number, but effectively giving me 14 channels. So I've got rudders on one channel, I've got gear on another, and then basically everything else has its own channel, so I can run the proper mixes and so forth. What other modifications did I make? So, oh yeah, so on the rudders, see I'm going with the prototype 5 paint scheme, but on the rudders I actually ran a carbon spar from the SU-35 through the rudder into the plastic and foam here, with a lot of epoxy running throughout. So the rudders are pretty sturdy. There's not a lot of play in there. So right now I'm kind of at a point where I got to figure out how to mod out this elevator. So I think what most people have been doing is putting nylon hinges through here, reinforcing with ply and epoxy. So I'm giving that some thought right now. I think that's pretty much everything. I've got 75 amp ESCs, probably more than I need. I've cut some foam away on the wings to inlay because these just weren't the proper length, so I actually had to put a 4-inch, this is a 4 or 5-inch extension, coil everything up in here. The servos are high-tech 5065. Don't know if this is zooming up properly, but there we go. But yeah, they're digital HS 5065 MGs. They seem to be a good speed and power output. These are the S-Bus decoders, and there we go. And then let me flip it over. If I can do this. So there's the paint scheme. The canopy. Almost done with that. I might paint this black to look more scale. I actually burrowed out this little area in here because the battery I'm going to run is a 6S inline, I think it's just 2.3S Thunder Power, and it fits right in that tray pretty well. And then this will actually come to its side and then I've figured the cockpit fits pretty squarely right on there with no mods this time around. I have to put another coat on there. I'm going to use heavier linkages here as well on the rudders. See if this thing will actually knife flight. And that is all I can think of for now. There is a little bit of a gap, as you'll see, running up through here, which is a bit annoying, so I don't know, maybe some black tape, some sort to seal that up. This was punched through from the other side with the wheel well, so the wheel well is right about here, so you gotta be careful of that. And then I just went a coat of black spray paint, tried to keep it in that Prototype 5 paint scheme, and all that's left to do right now is really just tweak out all the mixes and install those elevator horizontal stabilizers and the tail cone and the nose cone, reinstall this hatch mechanism, put the antennas out there so they get good reception. One idea I did have, and I actually ordered some other parts from Motion RC, was to get smaller cheater grates, and they go about there. So I'm still deliberating on this, trying to figure out if that makes sense, if it needs more air, or if that's just going to slow it down when it's moving at a pretty fast rate. It's pulling the air from here rather than through the front. So that's it. Hope this helps. Okay, so working on the elevator mod here, you can see there's a carbon fiber, looks like a spine that runs horizontally across the elevator. So what I'm going to do is I burrowed out, as you can see there, about, I don't know, a millimeter to a millimeter and a half. Trying to focus there. And so what I'm going to do is I fabricated these wooden hinges. So we've got 3 nylon Dubro hinges, and I used these small screws and then epoxied the hinges onto these ply boards. And so this is going to fit into that slot with the epoxy, holding everything in place. After it goes in, it should seal up nicely. I'll drill through on the clevis through the wood, maybe reinforce it with another piece of ply here to handle the force of the elevator. I think this will be a much better system than what it came with. So once I do this, then I have to do it to the other side on the plane. Something similar. Okay, so here you can see I ran epoxy down into that slot and inserted the hinge, and then I've got these clamps on it while it sets. That should really hold. Okay, hey guys, just want to show you what I ended up doing to reinforce this hinge area here. So you'll see I took a couple pieces of ply and burrowed out a slot. There's this carbon fiber spar that runs across horizontally the elevator, and so I just epoxied 3 nylon hinges, as you can see, with a screw running through each one onto 2 plyboard plates. And then when I cut out the foam there, One side of the hinge is epoxied well into that slot, and so this one moves freely. You can also see that I took one of these plastic covers off of one of the aileron hatches and used that to kind of reinforce the elevator. Just did it on the bottom. I didn't do it on the top. Probably could have. Then gave it a coat of paint, cover up all the imperfections, go with the 5th prototype color scheme. But now I'm going to essentially insert, cut out a slot right there, run this in, epoxy that up as well, and I should have a pretty reinforced hinge, I would think, at that point. So that is my elevator hinge mod. Alright guys, so as you can see, I'm getting ready to epoxy and reinforce the elevator hinges into the fuselage. And so you can see in this right here, what I ended up doing was digging out some foam, cutting away some foam for the hinge to plug right into. You can see that'll slide right down in. Okay, so I'm going to epoxy inside here, slide this on down in, and then what I've also done is taken a couple pieces of ply, and you'll see on this side I've actually got some plastic glued to the top there to reinforce the foam, and on this side I'm going to use a piece of ply, drill some tap screws, and that will go through the entire hinge assembly to make it even extra heavily supported. So that's my plan. This one's not done yet, but I'll show you the finished product. Okay, plates are on both sides. We got some plastic here, some ply here, burrowed out that slot. The hinge will fit down in there. Now I'm just going to apply the epoxy, seat that in there, and let it dry. Okay, so we ran the epoxy down into that gap and set the elevator hinge inside, and then I drilled 2 holes through the ply, through the nylon hinges internally, and then out the other side into those plastic plates, and threaded some wood screws in there, and that compressed everything together, sandwiched it nicely in there. I used 30-minute epoxy, so now I just wait for this bad boy to set, and that should be as good as anything. Just put the heavy-duty linkages on there. Finish the linkage for the other thrust vector in here. Alright, so the elevators are installed and complete. They feel very sturdy. The servos are humming away here. Get the thrust vectoring installed. See flaps. I may program a mix for what are they called? Tailvators? Elevators? I gotta free up a mix though. I only got 5 mixes on my radio. So that is it. Now we just gotta put on the nose cone and tail cone. And here's the cockpit. Turned out well. And yeah. Can't wait to give her a maiden flight. Hope this helps.